What is good, everyone? A-Rock quickly back for Wedge Part 7. We have some pretty insane spoilers from today, and I kind of think we're going to be seeing the rest of the set here very soon. So we'll be able to kind of tinker with this, and as we continue down the line and learn some things about the deck, we'll really be able to kind of dial in and talk about some of the many options of what Wedge could offer. Maybe even explore some other colorways. I know some players have been working with Wedge Cunning and on a little bit of Wedge Blue, which definitely have some cool cards to work with. But we're gonna get right into it. Luke Skywalker, you still with me? Is the new spoiler from today. This is a two-cost 3/2. Um, that great turn one. It's not as good as Battlefield Marine, but what we're mainly trying to use this for is piloting for 3 in Wedge will be 2, which is huge. Gives +3/+2, and if this upgrade would be defeated, you may instead move him to the ground arena as a unit and exhaust him. This is great. As a We can play this onto ships that might get destroyed and or might change our opponent's decision making, right? Similar to how Chewie just nullifies defeat and bounce effects, a return to your hand effects. Luke can make that decision more difficult for our opponent, right? They don't necessarily want to give us a 3/2 on the ground if they can't deal with it. It just gives us versatility so we're not just losing momentum. We can kind of stay on the gas in the following turns. We now have a 3/2 on the ground. This is good for us. A lot of what Wedge is currently doing is we're looking to set up on the 4 resource turn is a lot of 2/2 lines, maybe a 3/1 line, or just slamming a Bright Hope on 4. That's kind of really what you're looking for. So if you can set up options to being able to do 2 resources into something, stay on target, piloting Chewie or Luke, double ship, you name it. There are some really great options for us here to kind of dive into, continue to establish the board, and I think Luke fits that play line super well. Now, if uh, if we think that our unit might be defeated, it might not be the worst thing to pilot Luke and then get a swing in. And if they do defeat it or bounce it or anything like that, we do get again we get to have Luke on the ground. So it could prove to be similar to Chewbacca on turn 2 as that option goes. So I'm a big fan of this. And while we're on the topic, I'm on the deck page. Thermal Oscillator has been the card that and the base that I've been really jamming with a lot as of late. I decided to use this past weekend to jam games with it to really kind of feel it out. And some of the things that I've noticed is I have initiative more often. I am able to leverage not having the action of Tarkin Town, not having to rely on the Y wings to do as much damage like you have um, in the Tarkentown build, and the action of Tarkentown can set you back from having initiative, which this tech already kind of struggles with keeping initiative because we're playing something and then piloting with no resource for free essentially, so that makes things we can fall behind. But with a card like Thermal Oscillator, without having to worry about it, we don't really have to think about that. And we've been able to kind of cut back on the Y wings. We're just playing the red Y wing, which might get cut here. We're going to take a look at the list here in a moment. And then I'll just bring up the other card that I think is going to be a great sideboard card for us, and that is Salvage. So Salvage, play a vehicle from your discard pile for 0, but you get to pay the cost of the vehicle, which is great. And you deal 1 damage to it. I could see this after um, some removal effects or an OB or super laser blast, you name it, whatever happens. This can be something that we make use of. Best cards that Salvage works with is Blue Leader and Bright Hope, in my opinion. Maybe even a disabling Fang Fighter to defeat something. But these are going to be the main ones that you want to get back. Immediately getting a 2/5 Sentinel in space is pretty sick. Blue Leader being able to ambush for 5 as a 5/4. That's not bad. There might be situations where that can just clean up a unit that you're not able to deal with. I don't think you ever really want to use it on much else. Maybe Red Leader and Falcon if you have the ability to pilot them. But for now, Salvage, great sideboard option. Definitely in our maybe board. But I don't think it makes a spot in the main just yet, just depending on where everything goes. But back to our boy Luke, so we can start tinkering with this. I want to start at a 2 of Luke, and I think we could go to 3. And on the topic of Thermal Oscillator, one card that I have actually been very, very impressed with in Wedge has been Fleet Lieutenant. This gives us a lot more diversity of being able to go to ground, gives us more pumps, cheats actions, keeps the initiative, allows us to Rebel Assault on the following turn for a lot of damage. If Fleet Lieutenant it gets 5 damage worth of damage in, that's insane. 3 for 5 is awesome, and action cheating, and so much more. This card is great. So big, very high on this card, and really liking what it offers. Um, so the other part of it is there's oftentimes where might run into a Sentinel in space that you can't get rid of. Having cards that we can go to ground, I think Biggs also plays really well into going to ground. Chewbacca and Luke will also help with that. The amount of times I've just put Wedge on the ground is really often just to guarantee the damage. Um, the other card we could look to cut outside of Biggs for Luke would be the Red Squadron Y-Wing, since this does increase our turn 1 plays. We don't necessarily want to be playing this on turn 1, but I might test just a straight swap for Luke's for the Y-Wings. And just because we have no other ping effects, I think that feels best at the moment. Um, but we'll see. Do I want to be like? I don't know if I want to even be playing 3 Luke just yet, but we'll see. So that gives us 9. Oh yeah, we're fine. 9. That would be 11 turn ones in a 45 card deck. That's pretty solid. I think that would be fine if we drop 2 of these, and then maybe if we take all 3, then we can just do that. Let's try it. We'll give that a go. We're gonna give Luke 3 of and drop the Y wings. So that gives us options to play around with. And we're at 45. Let's give this a quick test. And if I were to be doing, it's a pretty easy swap of like Sabine's Masterpiece or something like that in the Tarkin Town version. You could easily drop a Gray Squadron Y-Wing. So if you're still on the Tarkin Town build, that's where I would go. But yeah, let's save this real quick. And we're going to take 1 second and just do a couple of hands and walk through that a little bit. See if they still have that feature. Do they? Dang, I don't think they do. Draw cards. Hey, there it is. So, let's talk through this. We draw our 6. So we got a Fleet Lieutenant. You guys are cut off a little bit, sorry. This is probably a mulligan. I think we have better 6s to see. So we mull this into getting wrecked. So, happens. So let's run it back. That would be, well, actually we just play Luke on the ground. Follow it up with Falcon and Biggs on the following turn. So I'd probably put a stay on target and the Bright Hope down. So let's see what we draw. Sweet. Gives us options here. We can't stay on target since we don't have a vehicle, so this would probably get resourced, but we could Fleet Lieutenant the Luke and stay on the ground, but I still think we would probably be going for this. But the stay on target would go down, we'd have the Fleet and the Bright Hope, and we'll be able to go on from there, and then that's just the worst draws ever. Of course that happens for the video. All right, let's run it back. All right, so let's see our 6. This is great. This is fantastic. So I would probably put both of the pumps down, keeping the Fleet Lieutenant here. Putting the Phoenix Squadron down, depending on if we have the initiative or not, would be if I put the R2. If we do not have the initiative, I would probably put the R2 onto the Phoenix Squadron just to make it a little bit bigger, give it 3 but, so it makes it more difficult to trade into depending on what we're up against. And then this is great. If we played the R2, we can red leader in bigs and go wide on the board. We have the fleet lieutenant to be able to attack for 6 if we wanted to. I think that that does a lot. We probably put one of these down, but we'll see. All right, let's go one more set of hands. Okay, so Chewie, stay on target, go down, or Chewie and Biggs go down, and we can pilot, and we can choose between Luke and Chewbacca on turn 2. This is great. We could easily have gone the X-Wing down as well. So, kind of liking it, but definitely leading to some difficult lines to figure out. So that would be a bad hand to see because we don't have the turn 1 outside of the Luke, so we would clear that, run it back. And we got there. I mean, A-Wing is what we want to be starting with. So um, keeping us at that 12 turn 1 plays, I think I like. Definitely would be testing around with it, but I do think Luke does provide some pretty insane options for us to be playing around. I think this card is very, very good, and I'm excited about it. I'm really just excited about the rest of the set. I do think there is merit to adjusting these numbers and finding exactly what we need to be playing, but here's where I'm at. TO has been performing incredibly well. Simple play lines, keeping initiative, and just push. You don't have the slow draws from the Y wing into Y wing, which then they just, if they have enough units, your damage does nothing. So it does create some weird patterns in that way. So big reason why I've been jamming on the thermal oscillator. But I think that's going to do it for this one. A little bit longer, did some test hands, got to talk through some stuff. So I thought that was fun. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Is Luke good or not? And stay awesome, everybody. May the force be with you.